This week on the B Team, we take a look at the biggest hits of all time. Who makes way for Latrell Mitchell in State of Origin? And is Matt Burton a $1 million player? I think we've got to pay him his money.
One word for Nathan Cleary. Different gravy. New South Wales take it to a decider. We're back for another episode. And straight from the El Jannah traffic helicopter, Mr. John Bernard. How you feeling, mate?
Mate, feeling good. Been around. Yeah, went to Melbourne. Watched Origin from Melbourne.
What are we doing down there?
I was going to go to Perth. Didn't end up going. I'm going to go to the decider. It's locked in.
You have to.
I'm heading down to watch my first game at Suncorp ever.
You're going to head down to Caxton Street
I
before?
am. Before and after. Might do a feel good last word on Caxton. I'll see how I go. But, mate, top game. As in, probably not the spectacle everyone was after, especially people in Perth. They probably thought it was a good game. They wouldn't know anything. But, I mean, it was just a good clinical performance from New South Wales. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Got all my anytime try scorers in there. It's and Nathan Cleary, like man of the match. What a great performance. So I thought it was a great game, great showing. Yeah, Queensland just had in the back of their minds, we can go to Suncorp.
I predicted. I said 13 plus. They're at Suncorp already. They're already there. It was a tactical masterclass. You know who from? Freddie Fittler. After game one, not only his changes, but after game one, he gets on the press conference, starts criticising the refs. Ashley Klein.
Yeah,
was a little bit jittery with some of his calls.
He met with the refs after the game too.
Fittler put the pressure on, and it was a masterclass by him. But the Perth, let's just keep the Origins on the East Coast. There was a cow paddock. There's Teddy slipping over every 2 seconds.
That was, mate. I was about to DM him. Not that he follows me or anything. I'm like, mate, I've got you. I've backed you at man of the match at $750. Yeah, go get some metal studs, you tight ass. Please stop slipping.
I think he's sponsored by Nike.
I need you to get your meters up there and get over the line. He kept slipping over, but he still played a top game. He was one of their best. It started to open up a bit more in the back end.
A meter eater. Now, remember before when he first came into Origin, he used to sweep around the back, a halfback would give him. Now they just throw him the ball and just say, run. And doesn't look like much, Teddy, but he's got the big butt, the running back's backside, and just gets meters. Big performance from him, but it was all about Nathan the Iceman Cleary. But there was also plenty of other football. The Cedars. Yeah, the boys.
Was rep
big
round.
win.
Got up over Malta. Not the hardest of opponents.
But you got to start somewhere.
But for what they had in there, they didn't have a lot of first grade players in there. But from the players that they had in there, Ron Massey Cup players, some borderline first graders, New South Wales Cup players, they look really good, and it looks like they'll have a good showing come World Cup time. Full strength Lebanese team. The Robinson boys still running around, and one of them's got to be 40.
Yeah,
Looked at
when he was 20.
Yeah,
big 40-20. But there was heaps of footy this weekend, so it's time to jump into our podium. We're going to bring back our podium. We haven't done it in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know, this is where we hand out a gold medal, silver medal, and a bronze medal, and then a participation medal for the person, team, coach, ref who just missed the absolute mark. Bernard, kick it off with your bronze medal.
Well, I'm going to go with what we just touched on, rep round. I thought it was a great filler in time for Origin on Sunday. They now scrapped rep round. There's no longer going to be a rep round going forward.
What's that about?
I don't really agree with it because...
What do you mean no rep rounds?
Players are very prideful when they represent a Tonga, Samoa, Lebanon, and I think it's good for all cultures during the mid-season to have that little 1 week break. But they want to keep Origin Wednesday nights. But honestly, I really enjoyed rep round. Not that the footy was up to scratch with a great standard, but it was just good to see players representing their countries. And I think it's a good buffer in between the season.
I'm going to skip the line, Bernard, because that was meant to be my participation for the NRL. So I'm just going to give you my participation.
Okay, go.
And I'm going to double down on that. The NRL scrapping rep round. What are you doing? As you said, look, some of the footy wasn't the best footy you've ever seen, but for some of these players, particularly like your PNG, Fijian players, this is the highlight of their career. I liked having that as a spectacle. If anything, I think we should add to it even more. Get Italy in there, get a couple of the European, like the Mediterranean countries. I think rep round has actually been one of the things that they've changed about the game that I like. Origin on a Sunday, I don't mind that it goes to Wednesday, but why can't we just have Origin on a Wednesday? That kicks off rep round, and then you have Kiwis versus Tonga or Kiwis versus someone on a Friday and make it a big week. Yeah. You give all the teams a bye.
Every other sporting code does it. I don't know about AFL, but that week to 2 week buffer during the season for an all-star game.
And it breaks up your season a little bit.
It does.
I read somewhere that they're going to bring it back to having tests at the end of the season. But let's be honest, Bernard, when they used to do those tests in November, October,
no one's tuning in.
You don't care about footy
anymore.
They're on
it's
over.
10,
you're on.
They're on 1HD
or 7mate or something like that. We don't want that. Keep rep round. All right, I've skipped it a bit, so I've lost my train of thought. But you are on silver medal time.
Yeah, silver medal, I'm going to go with James Tedesco. I thought he was excellent. as we touched on. He meter reader, slipped over a fair few times, but very well could have got man of the match. If
I
Cleary,
think he could've.
he crosses over for a try, he gets man of the match. He just led from the front.
He did.
Yeah, he was sniffing around the ruck. I think with the hookers interchanging, he was always looking for that, opportunity in the ruck there. And yeah, I just thought he had a top game, and he always proves he goes to another level during Origin, and his form's been great for the Roosters. So I thought, yeah, Teddy got
It
my
was a
silver.
clinical Teddy performance.
But on that, while we're on rep round, I want to say PNG, their performance,
yeah,
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Fiji, a lot of first graders in their side, so much more so than what
Well,
PNG
you
had.
can-
David Mead,
Yeah, last game.
mate, great performance
And
in his
you
last
must
game.
be reading my run sheet because they're coming up. They're my bronze medal.
No, I wanted to
And
say Justin Olam because he definitely could have been my bronze. Justin
and
Olam
I'm
had
going
a
to go
top
Lockie
game.
Lamb from PNG.
Okay.
Clinic. Scoring tries, making line breaks, put on an absolute show. Hasn't been playing much first grade recently, but just showed everyone. This is the talent that he showed when he was a Marston College Randwick superstar. Fine school from the eastern suburbs, produced a lot of great rugby league talent. Myself is not one of them, but Lockie Lamb, it was good to see PNG. They're big underdogs. I'm spewing I didn't get on them. I'm paying $4.
You
and
couldn't get on them. You know,
a couple of people tipped them.
a lot of people like Kikau went into his shell.
Yeah, they got a good team, Fiji. Sevo.
Yeah.
They got a lot
I
of
think
Wanga
maybe without
Blake.
Appy Coruscant, they probably lacked a bit of direction.
They needed
there.
a half.
Yeah.
And
But-
Nagama's not a half.
But I tell you what, Justin Olam, from what I've heard from Papua New Guineans and just word around online, he's treated like a god in PNG.
He would be.
They're going to make a statue of Justin
He'd be the
Olam.
mayor of Port Moresby.
Because
for sure.
he had a blinder. He was kicking, he was distributing the ball. And, even Cheese, I think, put an Instagram story up, mate. Step over Moneybags Munster. Justin Olam's going to be jumping in that sixth position fairly soon. He just looked awesome.
Yeah,
man.
he's a bad man.
He could run through a brick wall. Every carry he takes,
so underrated.
he just wants to run through something.
yeah.
So I back into the heels.
Runs
It was a great
hard,
performance for his
hits
country.
hard. He's a beast. Remember we did our top centers and we had Olam number 2 and people were blowing up about it. Justin
That
Olam's a freak.
But who would they have in front of him?
He's a lock.
Who's in front of him?
He's a lock.
Bar
Well, there's only
Katoni, and
Joey
even then-
Manu. Now there's talk about Joey Manu moving to fullback.
Well, mate, there's another rugby league commentator
Yep.
who's said Joey Manu could arguably be a fullback, a top 5 fullback. I got to politely disagree. I think he's great.
Yeah.
And he stepped in the fullback role when he needs to be for the Roosters. But saying he's top 5, he's borderline. Don't get me wrong. The guy's a quality player, and you could say it's arguable, 100%.
Yeah.
But then you're disrespecting your Kalen Pongers, your Dylan Edwards, your Clint Guthersons, your Tom Traboyeviches that are in your top 5. Your Tedesco.
All right.
I just named your top 5 right there.
All right, let's do it.
Maybe you could say he's 6 or
There-
7.
All right, Teddy's a lock.
Yeah.
Pappenhausen's a lock.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
See you later.
Done.
Traboyevich, when he's fit, is
Yeah.
a lock. And so is Latrell. Oh, Dylan Edwards. Yeah.
Dylan Edwards, Clint Gutherson, Kalen Ponga.
Kalen Ponga.
Kalen Ponga's playing
I'd
New
have
South
Joey-
Wales.
I'd have Joey Manu
So he's
above
playing for
Kalen Ponga.
he's playing for Queensland at 1, and you could see him in a quality team. Ponga just steps up. He skipped onto the outside of Stephen Crichton like he was a nobody.
Yeah, Stephen Crichton.
setting up tries. All I'm saying is Manu, he's borderline. I reckon
Manu takes the
6 to
piss,
6 to
Bernard.
8. But he's 6 to 8
He
if
takes the piss.
as a fullback.
He
as a
takes the
fullback,
piss.
I agree.
I think he's just got everything. He's got everything. He's big. He's great in the air.
And mind you, I love Manu. and he-
rips in.
Right, but I'm just saying he's had a fairly quiet season in centre. At the
I
centre position.
I
Fairly
disagree.
quiet.
He's been one of the Roosters' best.
I know, up against
I
like
think if
Tony
anything,
Staggs or a-
this season, he's like kind of shown.
Nah, Teddy's been the Roosters' best, and then I think
Joey Manu's
you
been
take
taking the
Joey
piss
Manu.
as well.
I think he's an excellent player. I'm not knocking him, but to say he's borderline top 5,
yeah, well, obviously he has to play a
He's-
season there.
he's
But
5 to 10. He's 5 to 10.
he'd if you slotted him in at 6 or 7,
You give him
I
a
would give
season
away.
there, and he definitely surpasses maybe at Gutho or I don't know.
For
some-
sure. For sure.
Give him a
And
season.
Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. I've lost track now. Who was my... Yes, I'm doing my...
Silver.
Oh, my silver was going to be Joey Manu. So there you go. Yeah, 400 metres. 400.
There's a record breaker.
He took the piss, Bernard.
I know.
He's a very bad man. And that's a good Kiwi side. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to give my silver medal to the Kiwis.
Okay,
It's a
Kiwis.
very good Kiwi side.
Well, their
They
spine is looking
could-
great.
They could beat Australia in the World Cup.
Yeah, it's Australia and them for who's
Yeah.
going to win the World Cup.
England are always consistent,
Yeah.
but they're miles better
Think
than
about that.
Tonga.
You got Cheese Hooker, Jerome Hughes.
Dylan Brown.
and then Manu at
I think
fullback.
that's
It's
the
a great
difference.
spine.
Any of these teams apart from Australia, the big one is their spine.
Yeah.
Tonga have got a mad team, but they got no spine.
Well, they left Foran out, which is like it's a.
I
You're
think
gonna go with
I think
Brown,
it's
and
fair
that's
enough.
fine. Yeah, he's been playing really well for Parramatta, and he's a top player. But
Was it Jerome Hughes' first game for the Kiwis?
no,
surely not,
Surely
eh?
not. No, I've seen.
Well, he hasn't played too many though.
No.
He's been long overdue.
Quality 7.
One of the best.
But I think just on Joey Manu and the Kiwis, and it's not our job to commentate on the commentators, even though we are the B team, we are the reserves.
Yep. That's what we do best.
But there was another one, I think, with SEN
Yeah.
calling this Kiwi team could beat New South Wales or Queensland on their day. I got to politely disagree. They're just based on spines, like we just said, spines alone, both New South Wales and Queensland spines match up probably just a little bit better than the New Zealand spine. And then just the players and outside backs around them. A full-strength New South Wales team.
Yeah.
Latrell, Turbo,
Yeah.
and then your wingers, Teddy at fullback. They're not beating a New South Wales team. And then a full-strength Queensland team, what they did to New South Wales in game 1, I'd say it'd be a tougher game against Queensland,
Well,
but I don't see them beating.
You'd want to
either
hope that
Origin
a country can beat a state.
team. You'd like to hope.
You'd
I don't
like
think-
to hope so.
I don't think they put
On
a
that,
number on either
Bernard,
of them.
it hit me when I was watching Origin. Isn't it crazy how much of a difference two players, centers usually get paid the least amount of money, but if Tom Traboyevich and Latrell Mitchell were in this New South Wales team, it'd be a no contest.
No, it's 3-0
It'd be
sweep.
3-0. Like, you wouldn't
Yeah.
even be worried. When I was watching that game 2, I was worried. In the first half particularly, New South Wales weren't playing that well, and then it just hit me like a light bulb. I just thought,
But you know what,
can you
though?
imagine how different this team with Latrell and Turbo? We're in centre.
Saying that, they weren't even the biggest difference. I guess Matt Burton had an unbelievable game, and they looked very sound around the park. The difference was their speed, in defence. Just Jake Traboyevich leading the
He made a
way.
big difference.
Just the defence, and they were slowing the ruck down a little bit more. They were much more physical. They got the roll on. Like, you could just tell they put in much more effort than they did game 1. I think Cleary came out and said he was just waiting for something to happen game 1. They were eventually waiting for the game to open up, but they made the game open up.
I think as
they were
well,
putting a lot of
they did
pressure
what
on
Queensland did to them in game 1, where
Yeah.
Queensland were the physical team. They
That was the
matched it.
difference.
They made things happen,
Yeah.
whereas New South Wales, after a shaky start, because first 30, they didn't look good.
No.
Maybe it was a bit of nerves.
Paulo off the bench was a massive impact.
Paulo was fantastic.
Yeah, but I
The
guess
bench, he nailed it. Freddie, hat off to you, sir. Nailed it.
he learned from his mistakes. But that takes me into my number 1, and
It's been a dog's breakfast, this podium.
Yeah,
It's
but
all over the place.
my gold medal is the changes that Freddie made. But
Yeah,
mainly
Freddie Fittler.
mainly Traboyevich being in there, Matt Burton on debut, and Api Coruscant, because they were the difference makers. Api Coruscant starting, and was great service out of dummy half. I feel like that's one of the worst part of Cook's game. He's got some not bad service out of dummy half, but
No,
he throws
you know
some
what it is?
shockers
It's
sometimes.
not that. And how many times does Cook go down the wrong side?
Yeah.
How many times will they be set up on the left and he'll just do the dummy and try and go
But
down the short side?
Where they used him well was on the back end of the first half when
Yeah.
they're gassed. He was scooting out of dummy half.
I
making
agree, though. Appy
opportunities
just
for him.
keeps it very simple. Very simple. Doesn't
Quality
try
player.
too much. Knows when to scoot. Knows when to go down the short side. You're right. Cookie's a great player.
Yeah, I think him
He
starting
just-
was a
He
big
overcooks
difference.
it sometimes.
And then Traboyevich just chopping everything that was inside. You could tell he wanted to make it known, and people have come out and said he's just solidified himself playing for the Blues the next 5
You
10
can't
years.
drop him now.
No.
And the thing about Jake Traboyevich, he's not the easiest on the eye in attack. Doesn't look like much. He's a bit
He's
like
not a very flashy
there was a
player.
player Anderson.
He's not an Isaiah Yo.
No, it is
Yeah.
player Anderson. He used to play for Man United. And when he run, he used to look like he shit his pants. Like he would just had. He just didn't look very aesthetically pleasing. Traboyevich is the same. Doesn't look like much, but he had the most post contact meters. I think he had the most running meters out of any forward. Just gets the
And he
job
made
done.
1,000
So
tackles.
everyone harps on about his defense, and it's definitely the best part of his game. But he got
And
it done
then
on both sides.
Matt Burton, his bombs, always trouble for anyone. At that level, they're trouble for anyone. And then just the way he played down, I had him anytime try scorer just because I know that Penrith connection. We said it on the podcast the week before. But he just always looked like a threat, and they look most dangerous on that left side. And, that's just that Penrith connection that they were going down. Luai into him. I thought Luai was a bit disappointing.
He was a
in
little
the,
bit.
throughout. He did score that try when they were.
Defensively as well. But you know what? That's what Luai does. It's Origin's about big moments, and one thing you can say about him, he doesn't drop his head. A little bit like a James Maloney was like that.
All right, let me throw this at you.
Go. Don't even say what I think you're going to say.
Would you make way for Latrell Mitchell, right? And we may get onto this. by
Getting
pushing
rid of
Burden into 5'8",
Never.
and then making way for Latrell. Because, mate,
Well,
Burden's
it's not-
kicking game, he basically played as a second 5'8".
Yeah, he
Yes,
did.
he was in the centres.
Yeah.
But, mate, I just think he's a better
Fred-
player than
Freddie's
him. And that's just bias for
Freddie's
me.
not disrupting it. He's not going to get rid of his half, but he's got a selection headache because not only does he have Latrell coming back,
got Jack Whiten as
and
well.
Jack Whiten is playing.
So, you know
Freddie
what?
loves
I
him.
think Whiten plays and he gets on the bench there for Talakai because he gave
Yeah, I
Talakai
think so.
maybe 20-odd minutes off the
But
bench.
then-
and he looked good, but it
but
was a
then-
time in a game where Queensland
But then,
were just looking
Bernard,
forward to game
you have
3.
2 forwards on your bench. Cook. So if you're going to keep Cook as a 14, and then you're going to have what?
Yeah, 'cause
Angus
Talakai
Crichton.
came on as a forward.
Angus Crichton and Junior Polo is your
Whiten's
only.
just going to have to miss out, I think. If they go with the same team.
Unless he gets rid of Stephen Crichton and gets rid of Burton, and it's harsh, but it is what it is.
And goes with who he...
Whiten and Latrell.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, to be honest.
I don't see how you get rid of this winning team. And the way that Burton played, he just
He-
slotted
he's
in
not
so
going to make too
seamlessly.
many changes.
No.
But
I think one of them's got to go. One of them's got to go. And you can slot
also,
in...
he's picking the game. He's picking it after this round of the footy, eh?
And do you even want to put Latrell in, coming off the hammy?
I heard he was overdoing rehab, but he didn't do too much training over there. And then he came back and got COVID. So he's probably come back
Let's
out
see
of
how he
shape to
goes
begin
this
with.
week.
If he has a blinder, he's getting
Yeah,
picked.
I know. Anyway, as Phil Gould says, don't pick until the injury report
Yeah.
on Monday.
My gold medal, Nathan Cleary. I don't need to say too much
No
about him,
wrong.
do I,
No.
Bernard? Took the piss. Reminded everyone. I'm an idiot. I should have got on him man of the match.
$5.50. My brother did it.
It came into about $4. I don't know why I didn't think of it till it was too late. But in the second half, he took the piss. He didn't miss. The ice, man, he had ice running through his veins like that.
2 tries. They were very soft tries. And I think Cameron Munster came out and said, we made him look good. And there's an argument for that. But
Yeah.
even then, I think
But the pass to Tupou.
yeah, he controlled the game really well. Came out to the critics and, just said why.
Just
He's
reminded
the
everyone.
best 7 in
Yeah,
the comp
he
at the
reminded
moment.
everyone.
But I'll tell you what, James Tedesco, if he's staying at $7 for game 3 at Man
I'll
of
be
the
getting
Match,
on
I'll
him.
tell you what, I'll be loading up on him.
Yeah, go. Participation medal. Who do you have?
Participation, it's not rugby league related. It's
Okay.
actually going to be our second favourite love, WWE related.
We love that.
Vince McMahon is getting my participation.
What's he done now?
He's in a bit of hot water at the moment. There's an internal investigation going on by the board of directors of WWE. They're investigating him for, it's not unfair dismissal claim, but just some funny business around
Bit of inappropriate.
him having an affair with a paralegal. Now, which
Ah.
executive hasn't had an affair with someone in their office? But it is a bit sus with Vinnie Mac because there's been a payout to her of $3 million.
Okay.
Apparently, he's passed around the office to some talent relations people as well. But he was going to address it on television, as you do. Now, I'm thinking it's going to be a storyline in WWE. And Vinnie Mac's going to come out as Mr. McMahon, the character,
Yep.
and address this. He comes out on both Raw and SmackDown. Doesn't even give it the time of day. Doesn't talk about it. Nothing. He just says, welcome
He's no
to SmackDown.
stranger to some inappropriate workplace behaviour. I
What-
remember the thing with Sable.
Yeah.
He's been known for being a bit
As the
touchy.
on-air character, though.
Yeah,
So
but I
that's
think
a- as-
even behind the scenes, he's been in trouble before.
So I thought he was going to address it. I think that was him giving a big FU to everyone and saying, I'm untouchable. I can go on TV while all this is happening. He stepped down as the CEO and chairman. His daughter Stephanie's come into the fold. I thought she was taking a bit of a hiatus too. I think she's just a placeholder until this investigation's
He
over.
stepped down.
Yeah, as CEO. But I think
What?
it'll be short term until this investigation's all over. But that's my participation.
Hang on, who investigates him though? Like he's the boss.
That's what I mean. That's why he stepped down. They've got an internal, I think, council looking into this.
yeah, and then what if they say, "Oh, you should go"? Who just say, "All right, thanks for that. See you later."
Yeah, see ya. No, we'll get another investigation done. Yeah. I'll opt for a second one or something like that. I don't know.
Vinnie Mac, man, the goat.
Yeah, I agree.
On the theme of Origin, Bernard, that wraps up our podium. It's time to do a special edition of the starters.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to bring it back to a top 5 format. It was so hard to narrow this down to a top 5.
Because there's
but-
been so many of
And we're going to try, because I know there are people listening to this and not seeing it, so we're going to try and describe this as vividly as possible. But we're going to do our top 5 biggest hits of all time. Go, Bernard.
Number 5, this isn't a legal hit, but it's from GI to Dean Young. This is the reason why they barred the shoulder charge in rugby league. He
They
murdered
banned it
this
right
man
after this.
on the field. It was tough to see. He gets cut under him from behind, and then GI just comes in full pelt at Dean Young. He was knocked out. Stretcher was called, but this is one of the biggest hits I've ever seen.
Number 4, this guy could have his own list.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Maddai.
Agreed.
But I'm going to pick out one. It was when they were versing the Rabbitohs. Dave Tyrrell. Absolutely irons him out, and it was legal as well.
He's always rushing in from that centre position, just closing in on a forward and putting them in the ground. Like,
I
it
would
was
hate
great
to
to
run
watch.
Snapped him in half.
3 for me, I'm going Simon Dwyer. Pretty sure it was a major semi.
I remember that game vividly against the Roosters.
Cleans up Jared Warrior-Hargraves.
He was slooping.
To cause a knock-on. It was a big point in the game too. I think this is one of the biggest hits in the finals as well. Probably would have been deemed illegal
Definitely
this day and age.
He probably would have had 10
It
in the
was
bin
play
as well.
on back then, and it was one of the greatest hits of all time.
Number 2 now. This one's a little bit of a story. It's Dave Kidwell against Willie Mason. Australia versus New Zealand in a test match. New Zealand's doing the haka. Willie Mason, don't know what he was thinking, filthy with it, starts mouthing off at them.
He didn't take a backward step.
He didn't take a backward step, swearing at the haka. Very disrespectful. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Just let them do their haka. Dave Kidwell kept the receipt, absolutely ironed him out. One of the biggest shoulder charges you'll ever see. Would have definitely been a penalty now. Who cares? Takes a lot to put Big Willie down, and he put the big fella down, and he was loving it after as well.
Number 1 for me, this was an easy one for me being a Bulldogs supporter. Sonny Bill Williams with his hit on Joel Clinton in Penrith. You could picture it in your mind.
Not the biggest hit, but the
one
most
of the most
iconic.
memorable.
Remember, it was on every NRL
The one
ad.
shoulder straight into him. You could see the hair, the spit, the sweat flying off Joel Clinton. It's one of the most iconic shoulder charges of all time. Prime Sonny Bill at the Bulldogs as well, when he was just
Young Sonny.
throwing those shoulders around. So that's got to be one of the most memorable hits of all time.
And as always, guys, before you roast us in the comments, make sure you listen to the full podcast if you're having a little listen on TikTok. And make sure you're giving us a follow on that platform as well, because we're doing our best work there, Bernard, the road to 10K. It's time to jump over now to the HIA. We got plenty to chat about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring this one to the table now. Cam Munster.
Yep.
In doubt. Apparently, he's been given the all clear.
AC joint, shoulder scans.
AC joint. Apparently, he'll be all right for Origin 3, but, might be playing with a bit of an injury cloud with the AC joint pain. It's a lot of pain management. Ponga concussed again.
Does that put him in doubt?
Do you put the pencil through Queensland?
If Ponga and
They're done.
Munster miss?
Yeah. Who would they put?
Finished.
Reece Walsh at fullback?
I don't even know.
It'd have to be. Who
yeah.
else could you have? Reece Walsh who plays
You could maybe just
I'm trying to think of the Queensland clubs. Who are their fullbacks?
mix the halves around a bit and maybe put Munster
from
at
New South
fullback.
Wales. Yeah, they could do that.
If Ponga doesn't play. Because Alex Twal copped another serious knock, and he's been ruled out for what looks like the rest of the season,
Well,
and
a
possibly World Cup.
A Knights fan brought this up to me. Ponga, I think that's his second concussion in as many weeks. He's had a lot of head knocks.
I didn't think it was as bad as the...
Didn't look that bad. It was one of those the
Isaiah Yeo in game 1. That looked far worse. He was wobbly.
It was.
That
looked like a good fair hit.
He got up. Yeah, I know Cleary was put on report for it. You know what it was? It wasn't the initial contact.
It was the...
It was into the ground. It's probably the whiplash into the ground. But, he got up, played on, so I think he'll be okay. They'll monitor it, but with no Ponga and possibly no Munster, that's the end of Queensland. They need to be full string. That's what they lack is depth, Queensland, and New South Wales have a whole heap of it. So.
Yeah, no Munster, no party.
Yeah, but what about this one? Now, I've had a long think about this.
Go.
Burton coming off contract. He's opted out of his option to stay at the
Which
Bulldogs.
means he can renegotiate, though, doesn't it?
Negotiate with the Dogs, but
Yep.
with other clubs starting November. Now, obviously, it's a business decision. The guy's just played Origin. He's probably added another $250,000 onto his contract
At least.
already, just for that game 2 performance from him. So I'm thinking, could Matt Burton be a $1 million player? Tough question.
Mills a lot of money.
With teams like the Dolphins throwing around money like it's no one's business, and the open market being the open market, with Luke Brooks on 1.2, with Mitchell Moses potentially being $1 million player.
Look, Bernard, I would give him...
Would Matt Burton earn $1 million?
I'd give him 800, but if he got $1 million, I wouldn't be surprised. Let me just say that.
Yeah, what I think it would be is you'd back end it. The old Des Hasler back end deals, where you'd give him 800, next year you get 9.
I think that's what I would do.
Third year you get the 1.1.
I'd be doing one of them. Maybe first year 750. By the third year, you're on $1 mil plus.
But the Bulldogs have to lock him up, and the Bulldogs did recommend he opt out because they want to renegotiate.
How much is he on? He's on what, like 400?
400, yeah.
He's definitely worth 800 at least.
Minimum. But I'm saying open market, he could look at like...
Hey, if the Dolphins are legit about bringing in a marquee, they should give him whatever he wants.
You'd build your club around him. I'd be nervous if I was a Bulldogs because there'd be a lot of clubs circulating him.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Here's one that I saw. Speaking of money, the LIV golf tour. You know, the one we've spoken about. It's the Saudis. You know, I'm big fans.
The oil money.
They've got another big name. Brooks Koepka,
Yeah.
who's won majors before. He's a former world number one. Signed for a nice little cheeky $150 million.
Respect it. I mean,
And now it's created debate.
well,
not
there's,
only
a,
in
there's a
golf.
line in the sand now.
Yes, and
It's PGA or Saudis. You got to pick one.
you got to pick one, and it draws the line. Like, where do you draw the line between like money and prestige? Because they can have as much money as they want, but it'll never be as prestigious as winning that green jacket.
Yeah.
So for you, Bernard, like where do you draw the line? Like we're not talking about the difference between $700K and $1 million.
Yeah.
We're talking about a signing bonus. So he could come last, never make the cut of any of these tournaments.
Yeah.
He's just got 150 mil.
Yeah. There's an analogy would be an NBA player, right? Winning his rings. He's already won his rings, and he just wants to make money for the rest of his career. So he's going to go sign with a Memphis Grizzlies or just like a team that a New York Knicks and earn the max. You know what I mean? Because if you've won your championships, you're more than welcome to go get your money.
Multiple major champion.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's the same goes in rugby league. Matt Burton won his comp. Let's see what I can go out and get. Yes, he wants to play 5'8", but there's been other players that do the same thing. This is just ethically draws a line because of the Saudis.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Depending on the amount of money, you'd have to weigh it up. But mate, it's hard to say no. Do you say no to 150 mil, ADAMO?
It'd be very hard.
They're very difficult.
Like if they approached us, the Saudis, to be the official podcast of the LIV, and we both got a 50 mil sign on each.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to do all episodes from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's just how it is. Yeah,
simple as that. Another thing I saw which I liked, the Kiwi team. We spoke about it. Looked gun.
Great.
Gun. One of the best Kiwi teams probably since they won the World Cup.
Yeah.
Their NRL club though,
Shocker.
graveyard.
Yeah.
Graveyard. Someone from SE, and I don't know who it was, but it was an ex-All Black, just has said that they've become the graveyard for Kiwi international players. You're speaking about Wateni Zelezniak. What is it going to take to change the Warriors? Is it as simple, Bernard, as them just going home? Like they're going to go home and that'll motivate them? Because they've tried a lot of things. They've tried getting the older head half in. They've tried a different coach.
Well, the thing is, Phil Gould was there for a brief period, and he was trying to do what he did at Penrith and reinvigorate their juniors, and because they've got all of New Zealand to work with.
They've got a whole country compared to a team, a catchment.
Yeah, and you can pick from rugby because some of our best players in rugby league have come from rugby.
Of course, yeah.
Angus Crichtons and it's a big rugby country, New Zealand, and like some of those
Asafa
schooling.
Solomona was a rugby player. Yeah, heaps.
So they've got a large junior base to pick from. It's just about re-engineering your recruitment, your staff, your culture. Penrith is a prime example of it. Like they've got new facilities. They just need pick a coach, stick with him for 5 to 10 years. Look at Ricky Stewart and Canberra, that relationship. Get a Robinson at the Roosters. Change the culture. I like Stacey Jones. Like I know they haven't been performing as well as Mick Potter, who is the greatest interim coach of all time. But I'm just saying Stacey Jones has his head on his shoulder, very intelligent coach. He knows that culture needs to be changed, and the recruitment and how do you convince a player in the NRL in an Australian club to say come over to New Zealand and we'll win a comp?
Tough.
Very tough. So maybe they need some help from the NRL.
I don't really know what else the NRL can do for them though. As you said, it'd be very unenticing. Like you're asking someone to move another country.
Well, Matt Lodge already split.
Yeah, he didn't want a bar of it. Nathan Brown split. So you're trying to get them over to a country where the team's not very good and they're not known for being very good. You don't have a real core of they don't have a core of players that would excite me apart from Reece Walsh.
When the Knicks
and
tank
a couple
in the
forwards.
NBA, they just tank for lottery picks.
I do, unfortunately, as a Knicks fan.
And picks in the draft. They're just going to have to go through a period of just toughing it out until new juniors come in.
They feel like, I know they made the finals when Roger was there, 2018.
Yeah.
But they feel a little bit like the Tigers. Like they've been rebuilding for a while, and they're not getting any better.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to getting your spine in there, and just build a culture, get a coach that's going to be sticking with them, and build that over time. It's going to take at least 5 years.
On coaches, would you try and get someone like a Cameron Ciraldo
To the Warriors?
to the Warriors? Because he
He's
just knocked.
declining that.
He's just knocked back the Tigers. So I want to know, where's he going?
I reckon if Bulldogs, West Tigers, and the Warriors approach any coach,
Yep. All right.
it's a steer clear
Let's
from
do
everyone.
this. Let's order them. Those
Look
three
about it.
teams.
You don't want to end up like Trent Barrett.
No,
He
don't.
got 2 bites at the cherry, failed at both of them, probably never coach again in the NRL. He'll be maybe a great assistant.
Is
Because
Serraldo waiting for?
He's waiting for the right opportunity, 100%, because you don't want to be caught at the Bulldogs and then lose for a year and then be like, oh, you're on the chopping block. You want to be Craig Fitzgibbon, who turned down a few jobs, waited for the right moment,
Sharks.
recruited well at the Sharks, and now they're looking all right. And Craig building a good record.
Do you reckon Serraldo's maybe waiting for? Oh, the Souths are a mess at the moment. Maybe they get rid of Dimitri. I go in, or maybe Des Hasler. They move on from
He's
him.
waiting for the right opportunity.
So he's not
and he has that clause in his.
He's
Penrith
not
contract.
touching any of these three at the moment.
No, and possibly even the Titans.
They're all very unenticing jobs, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you had to rank them, all right, give me your best to worst.
Of teams?
So, like coaching
Oh,
job.
where-
If you're a coach, Bernard, you're Cameron Serraldo, and
And
these clubs are trying to recruit you. What's
Okay.
your go from
I'm
most
steering-
enticing job?
most enticing out of the
Yep.
clubs we've just said.
Yep.
Most enticing would be South Sydney, because
No. So let's do the teams that are. Let's go Tigers, Bulldogs, Titans, and Warriors.
Oh, yeah, most enticing is the Gold Coast Titans.
Yeah.
I think because they at least have got some form of, decent players up there, good set of halves, AJ Brimson, and they can win They can win games when they can. Like I feel like they just haven't been playing well, and it's just building up. Then I would say the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I would take the Bulldogs over the West Tigers.
And then Warriors last. I think we agree on that.
Yeah, Warriors.
Call
last
me
just
crazy.
because of
You
just
know who's
because of
my most-
geographics.
My most enticing one would be the Tigers. Because they've got massive junior base. Not only do you have all Balmain, you've got Wes. You know you're not going to get any interference from a Gus Gould, and you don't have to worry about... Like, the Titans have never been good, and the Warriors are too far. So you get a team that historically has been good, big fan base, great juniors. You've got a couple pieces there that
I
you
just
like.
don't think they've done
And
enough.
Happy Coruscant
That's their biggest sign.
and Papali'i
They
go in there
lost-
as well to go with
lost-
Jackson Hastings, and Laurie's a good player as well.
Losing Leilua is rough, but just with their
He
dramas.
didn't want, you know what? He didn't want to be there
No,
anyway.
but just
though.
with their dramas with the halves, and I mean, it's been 11 years since they've been.
Well, that's what you got to do. Exactly. So the bar's set very,
Very
low.
low.
You make the finals, they're going to put a statue of you at the West Ashfield Leagues Club.
yeah.
And then I would say the only thing about the Bulldogs, Bernard,
I just think they've recruited
why I'm
much better.
steering clear, you don't want Gus just hovering over you. I don't think after what happened with Trent Barrett, I don't think anyone is going to want to go near that. Unless they're really desperate, like Shane Flanagan.
Well, they just have to commit to minimum of 2 years. That's got to be in the contract for any coach that coaches a Bulldogs or a Tigers or a Warriors. I need minimum 2 years to send this club. You can't sack me after 6 weeks. You
Or
can't
one
sack-
season where I
Yeah.
come second last.
That's what I mean. They need minimum of 2 years and a commitment from the clubs. So, I don't know. I think Warriors are going to stick to Stacey Jones. There's some talk that the Bulldogs are going to be sticking with Mick Potter and start looking to recruit internally. So,
Wow.
well, that
As
just
what? The head coach
head
moving
coach,
forward?
and that just means that no one wants to coach there, to be honest with you. But I don't
'Cause
know. I like Mick.
Shane Flanagan can start coaching next year, I believe. Like,
Yeah.
he's still suspended.
Mm-hmm. Is that from the drug drama?
Well, not only the drug drama, but remember then he was suspended and he was still emailing and like he was still
Okay.
involved, so he got in trouble for that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be, as a Bulldogs fan, would you care if they said, Mick
No.
Potter, we're going to give you one season?
No, I'd rather a
After-
long-term coach. If
You-
you're going to sign Mick Potter, give him.
Well,
him
they'll
3
say
years,
that, but
what
you
I
know
mean?
what? They'll say
And
that
I
they
like
give
him as
4
an
years.
assistant. Let's go after a head coach that's won a comp.
Because he had a rough time at the Tigers, and he said that there was a lot of politics there that he wasn't ready for. So now he's a bit
You
more
can tell he's a very.
matured in the NRL
Yeah.
coaching space.
I think he's a good attacking coach as well. They've been playing a lot better, like attacking wise. He's made some good positional changes, but
Avarillo, fullback.
yeah, and just the way that he's stuck true to Flanagan, build that combination with Burton. So I don't know. I'm happy with him as an assistant and Flanagan to come in. But yeah, just shop around, see what's out there.
Yeah, I like that. Anything you saw that caught your eye? Or that will catch your eye?
I just think I know we touched on it, but Latrell possibly being a.
That's big.
Freddie came out and said, does Latrell pick the side now? Because Latrell did come out, I think, put an Instagram story up saying he wants in game 3.
Yeah.
He wants to play.
If he's fit, you're
How
picking
can
him.
you say no to Origin?
Yeah.
But Freddie did come out, and he's had a bit of a back and forth with Freddie before, with Freddie dropping him. I don't know if there's any love lost in that relationship, but I don't know. It's very hard to say no to Latrell coming into the side. I think definitely, just with Crichton's performance, I don't think he was outstanding, and I think you could make way for Latrell.
You could
with
definitely
Crichton.
drop Crichton.
If you had to choose between Burton and Crichton, who had
I'd
the
leave
better
Burton.
game, I'm leaving.
I'd leave Burton in there.
Yeah.
Burton in there, 100%. Latrell's stock's actually gone up since being injured. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think watching
Why? Just because how bad Souths have been?
That too, but watching how important and how much of a difference he makes for New South Wales. Even for me personally, I've just watched him go, man, this kid, he's so good. As much as a Roosters fan, I want to hate him.
Yeah.
But he'll come into this South team. I don't know if they'll win this weekend against Para, but he'll come in and change them massively.
There was some talk around the Maroons dropping Dane Gagai.
Why?
And that
he was very quiet.
He was very quiet, but defensively, I don't know if he can match up to these New South Wales centres, full strength or not.
You know what though? Suncorp Stadium is a different beast.
100% agree.
Just watch.
That's why I think Game 3 has to be 1-12.
Gotta be.
I thought Queensland were going to come out stronger like they did last time. They must have had Game 3 in the back of their mind.
They were already there, Bernard. I told you this last week.
At Suncorp, it has to be a 1-12
They were already there.
Either way, 1-12.
And it's going under. It's going under 36 or 38 points.
Should be a grind of a game. And I'd like the referee to just keep the whistle in the
pocket. He'll swallow it this time.
Let the game flow.
Freddie applied the pressure. He's going to swallow the whistle this game. But Freddie had to do it because Cam Smith's fingerprints have been all over this Queensland team. Very, very good wrestling, the line speed. If that was an NRL game, they would have called him offside every second tackle.
Yeah, and the ruck was very slow.
Very slow.
Ruck was very slow. But I don't know. I think he just copped too much criticism, Ashley Klein.
I heard a mad story about Cameron Smith. Apparently, Melbourne brought in a jiu-jitsu black belt. But this was before anyone was doing it. This is about to do the wrestle. So apparently, by the time NRL, so he'd been doing it for about 3-4 years before any NRL team started doing it. Then teams like Souths caught on.
Rugby league conspiracy?
No, not at all. Apparently, Cameron Smith, out of all according to this black belt coach, Alex Paradas is his name, was the best jiu-jitsu practitioner of all the ones at the Melbourne Storm. Think about all the big boys they had there. Apparently, he was a purple belt. So it goes white, blue, purple, brown, black. Once you get past blue, you're very, very good. Like, it's very tough. A lot of blues, myself included, you get your blue and then you quit. Cameron Smith was already a purple belt by the time teams around the NRL started doing jiu-jitsu.
Maybe that's why the secret to his longevity is just a master of grappling.
He's got people said he's got the body of an accountant, but
yeah,
man, he must be deceptive. He's like Superman. Once he rips off,
I love tuning into Cam Smith. I think he's got great insight. He's a great caller for Channel 9. He's working over at SEN, and he's awesome.
You know what? Can I say this? How come all the Queensland commentators, and I don't have a problem with it, are really biased? They'll cheer. Cameron Smith will cheer, like, go you good thing, go you good thing, and Fatty Vorton will say to Nathan Cleary, oh, can't you miss? But then all the New South Wales pundits are like, they do the opposite. It's like they want to show they're not biased, so they just bag New South Wales constantly. Gus School, he's one of them.
Back your boys.
Back your boys.
I know. I mean,
I did like
Fatty looked down in the dumps after the game.
I did like, though, Gus's the little montage chat. That was good.
That was a good little change of pace. And they did the old intros.
Yeah, but I want the players walking out.
I want the fold arms.
Crossed, but it was a start.
It was, yeah.
It was a start. It was very nice. Before we wrap up the HIA, it's a massive weekend in the UFC.
Yes.
2 huge fights. The first one, Alexander Volkanovsky taking on Max Holloway for a 3rd time.
This will put it to bed.
This will put it to bed.
I mean, it's already in bed.
Volkanovsky said it. He said if it was anyone but Max Holloway, they don't give him this trilogy.
They shouldn't really have one if you go off why a trilogy is needed. But, I mean, it'll be entertaining to watch. Most of their fights have been entertaining.
Yeah, well, the first one, I
just say, if Max wins,
they're fighting again.
They go to 4.
I think they fight 4 times.
Jeez.
What's after a trilogy? A
quadruple?
A quadruple. There you go. I'm gonna have a look at the odds here. This might actually creep
Volk's $1.30 easy.
Nah. $1.50.
Yeah. I'd get on.
$1.50, and then Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. Izzy's winning, isn't he?
Yeah, Izzy's winning. A lot of hype around him. I don't know. I think the UFC, they just continue to just put on decent events that people are tuning into. That pay-per-view model seems to be working. So, I don't know. I find it's just surpassed boxing in terms of combat sports.
Sure.
I mean, like,
it's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah. And what it has that boxing doesn't is the best always fight each other.
Yeah.
Because they're all under one banner. The counter to that is sometimes fighters, and they've voiced this, they get stitched up in regards to pay. But as a fan, you always get to see the best fight the best. Very rarely don't they? Sometimes it doesn't happen for whatever
What
reason.
about this one? Jake Paul offers a $1 million bet to Tyson Fury that he's going to beat his brother at Madison Square Garden in August. Now, I don't know about you, but I think Tommy Fury's a bit of a fairy. Love Island kid or whatever, UK reality show star. I think he's tried to back out of the fight too many times.
He's a bit of a joker, isn't he? He's a little bit of a joker. When they first wanted to fight, I was thinking, I don't know, Tommy's a legit. Yeah, he's legit. He's fought before, but now he's tried to back. He's
way too
out
many
before.
times. I don't know if it's theatre.
I'm gonna stop doubting Jake Paul because I've done it every single
I'm a
fight.
big Jake Pauler.
I've always loved him, but
I love his antics.
I've loved
I
him
love how he
as a
calls
fighter.
people
I've
out.
loved him as a fighter, but I'm gonna stop doubting him.
And you know what I don't mind about Jake Paul? He's not scared to use the word pussy. He'll call out a fighter.
He doesn't mind
and
tossing
he
around the
drops
P word.
P word a fair bit, which the P word
And I've
needs
got
to
to
come
say,
back.
Tommy Fury is being a little bit of a P word.
Yeah.
And I think Jake Paul is the underdog again.
He will be.
When are we going to stop doubting him?
I think after this fight, because, like you said, not that Tommy Fury is an accomplished fighter. He is a fighter.
Yeah.
And once he beats him, he'll go back to Eddie Hearn and say, am I an average fighter now?
What do you
I
think,
don't think so.
producer Joey, Jake Paul? You're a Jake Paul
You're
fan?
Jake Pauler?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's putting it in for the
Producer
creators.
Joey, who's subbing in for producer Shabs, who's sick. He's converting him. He's converting everyone.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big fight.
100%. Looking forward to it. I mean, I've been getting on that skipping rope, throwing some hands at some pads
Now, can
lately.
I just say, I don't know. I know Lantekers is in England at the moment. I don't know maybe if there's any other aspiring influencers that want to fight. All I'm going to say is I trained in the gym last week with Bernard. He was tossing around the 100 kegs on the bench press like it was light work.
Yeah, but tell you what, it might hinder me though. I'm going to lean up a bit more. I'm going to
more,
go down to the 80 kegs.
A bit more explosive.
Get more lean, get some running meters in the legs. But working with Huss Hamden and Jeff Fennick. So
Well, they trained you yet?
So keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to call anyone out, but
you and the Aussie goat, Jeff Fennick.
just keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying.
So is something, all right, without revealing too much, fight locked in?
Not locked in, but very much in the works. Having
So
chats.
how many days a week you training?
4 times a week.
Boxing, 4 times a week. Oh, you're legit.
Getting in there, getting it done. It's probably borderline. It's almost locked in. Just got to work it out with.
When do you reckon we'll know? The fans want to know bad. They want to know when the People's Premier's getting
I
in
reckon within the next month or two, you'll see an announcement being made. But yeah, I'll be stepping into the ring.
there. Mate, I'll be there.
It'll be a good one.
I
Keep an
can't
eye
wait.
out.
I'll be putting, if I can, money on you.
Legally.
Legally, of course, and responsibly. Long shot time.
Long shot for me with rounds returning back to normal for footy. I'm going to take.
It's a tough week.
It is a tough week.
It's
at
a
tipping.
tough week.
I'm going to take Novak Djokovic at $1.70 to win Wimbledon.
Yep.
Because he said I need to win this because I can't go to the US. Can't go play in the US Open. So it's a must-win for Novak.
Nadal's pulling clear of him. He's 2 majors clear.
Definitely a must-win for Novak. I think that's factored in. So $1.70 for Novak into the Bulldogs to go 3 in a row. This is a long shot part of it. Bulldogs to go 3 in a row against Cronulla this week.
I like it.
Mine?
Let's stick with tennis. I'm going to go women's.
Mm-hmm.
In the women's, like Swiatek's the favourite to win. She's never been past the 4th round in Wimbledon. So I'm going to go Ons Jabeur from Tunisia.
Great pronunciation.
Yeah, thank you. I worked on that before I got here. But she's on the other side of the draw. She's paying $6.
$6.
So get on her.
That's a good long
Yeah,
shot. I mean,
women's
with Ash
majors
Barty out now.
Ash Barty's out, so it's a lottery.
Open field, yeah.
You don't know. And women's, they always toss up some surprises. So I'm going to go that. $6. We're going to post our tips as well, Bernard. You're 3 clear?
3 clear.
3 clear of me. Loser has to cop a manzillion. We're now getting into the business end of the season. This is when I promise I'm going to start doing my best work. Very tough week.
You're going to have to take some upsets that maybe I miss. So
yeah, I might have to.
keep an eye out for that.
But I could pull it in 1 week.
You never know. Could be this week.
Could be this week. Could be this week. I'm 3 clear. What's on this weekend for you, big guy?
I'm going to go to the Manly-Melbourne game, see what's happening around the grounds.
Down to Brookie.
Yeah, going to go down to Brookie and enjoy that. Just catch the weekend of sport. Good to see full round of footy back. And, just be lapping up, watching the tennis, obviously, having a fair few bets. But what about yourself?
I don't know. I don't have too much planned. I got a big birthday on Saturday, so another big one. I think back up Sunday League on the Sunday. I don't know. Yeah. Roosters are playing Penrith in Penrith. I think we're going to get touched up, unfortunately.
There,
Unfortunately. But other than that, mate, have fun at the footy. And guys, thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, follow, do all that type of stuff. TikTok, Instagram. We're moving over to YouTube now. Producer Joey.
We are on YouTube. The B Team.
The B Team. And as always, guys, give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But until next week, ciao and up the chooks.
Take it easy.